Tonight, Dr. Mike and I answer a big question for AtGames Pinball. Does size matter?
Bog Panda.
Hi, everybody. This is Kelly at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram.
I am Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, leave a comment, turn on notifications, check out the merch store, do all the stuff you guys need to do so we can keep coming here and talk about retro games with you. I mean, we're going to keep doing that anyway, but do the other stuff too. Be a friend.
Yeah, just try and stop us. Yeah, so. Many people have. They've been unsuccessful.
There is a cabal at work here.
Keeping the panda down. It's not good. But some interesting announcements recently from AtGames. We have talked at length about the Legends Pinball, our struggles on whether we're going to get one or not. Somewhat of a mixed bag of some people's experiences in terms of the quality of the control, the noise, some of those things, but by and large, very positively received. Obviously a pretty cool system. I think AtGames did a great job with what they've configured, but it ain't cheap, folks. And so it kind of has itself, it's at a price point that people got to think kind of long and hard before they pull the trigger on a Legends Pinball.
Not only that, but it's larger and heftier than the arcade one-up options. And there's also another company that does them. Can't remember the name offhand. We'll put it doon there and pretend like we knew that.
That was the company.
Yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah.
So they've, there was some talk about, hey, you're going to come in with a mid-range priced pinball alternative. And so, credit to AtGames for doing that. So they are releasing a Legends Pinball Micro. So help our friends watching the show, Mike. Micro versus mini. What are the percentages? How do you call the ball on what's a mini or a micro?
Yeah, it's interesting to me. So the mini version of the Legends arcade cabinet, which I have, you have the full size, I have the mini version, is basically like a 3/4 scale as opposed to an 80 or 90% scale cabinet like the one that you have. That makes sense to me. So micro, I guess, is scaling it down even further. This to me, though, calling it a micro seems slightly misleading because in my mind, when I first see sort of the graphics and the announcement and all this stuff about it, I'm thinking, all right, it's a 3/4 scale as opposed to the 80% scale. Like it's going to look like the arcade one-up cabinets, and it doesn't. And to their credit, they did say micro. And so they are in their way prepping you for this being a much smaller unit than that. Yep. It's still smaller than what I would have anticipated or would have looked for in this product.
Yeah. And I don't know why they didn't call it bar top, because that's pretty much
that's what I was getting at with it. I don't understand why this just isn't a bar top pinball table. Which
I'm not sure pinball's a good bar top option for me personally. For a size, I just think I'm struggling with the size factor. So while I think it's good that now they're offering some alternatives out there for folks, I am not on fire about this one because, originally I thought when I heard about it, I was like, oh, great. Now they're going to pull something down price-wise and I can kind of get it and get some of that enjoyment of the cool thing that this concept they've come up with, but not kind of have to shell out, $800 for a pinball machine. But
to be fair, you're not shelling out $800 for this.
Yeah, we're not, but you are shelling out $450, which, I think they didn't apply the micro to the price. No. They did the micro to the size, but they don't think they microed the price because when there are a couple things. So dimensions of this, And, I think it's a cabal. We have problems with cabals here at Bog Panda. But, whoever allowed, and it's on us, we've allowed folks to do this. This whole concept of when you talk about a screen size, measuring it diagonally so it can give you a bigger number. Why did we let people do that? That is just, not cool at all. And so they talked about, it's a 16-inch playfield and a 10-inch top panel. So you start to go, well, it's a hypotenuse and I got a right angle. I calculate out. It's not big. I guarantee you that. Think about 16 inches. That is 4 inches more than a foot, and that's not
for
large.
Most of you watching this. Turn your laptop sideways.
Yeah, there's your deck.
Yeah,
and I don't know, maybe So I guess to me, at a different price, I could maybe buy into all that. Yeah, okay. I've got basically a pinball laptop that I'm going to be able to. It's got kind of some cool sides to it, and they've added the fixtures so that if you wanted to add legs to it, which I just really don't understand how that's going to be a good idea.
I've so many crazy thoughts about that.
So it's either you have an incredibly small population of people that they're going to play this, or incredibly tall folks that I need the bar top raised up a foot or two to be able to comfortably play. But I just don't see that the legs beyond. It will look cool, but then it almost turns into a toy or a display item, because I just don't think the playabilities, there's, to me, no sense in putting legs on a bar top.
Yeah. So, and it raises the question of form factor, because they don't actually, nowhere I saw at least, gave you the size of the legs.
No.
So are these legs that are long enough for you to stand and play this? Because that's going to look incredibly stupid.
Yeah, that's like a giraffe.
Yeah. That's going to be the dumbest looking thing ever. Not only that, I can't imagine it's going to be very stable.
No. And I assumed, and from what I've seen on some of the videos that are out there so far, is they kind of show, those are in place for you to do it, but they've not talked about any of these accessories and say if there are legs. So we don't have any specifics on it, but I am going to assume it's not a set of legs to bring it up to play height. It's going to be, proportionally the same, which
that's what I assume. Yeah,
a bar top completely useless.
Right, which just makes it a super weird, awkward height. Because if you actually put it on a table or a bar top, now it's bizarrely high. So, and if you put it on the ground, what are you going to hunch over and play? This is a stupid idea.
Yeah.
The legs on this thing, just make it a bar top. Call it a bar top, because that's what it is. I'm not saying that that's for me, but I could definitely see there being a market for a bar top pinball table.
Yeah, and as we all know, the arcade one-up bar tops run for the price you see below.
Their bar tops run from like 150 to 200.
Yeah. So, call it a bar top, treat it like a bar top, price it like a bar top.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk. But that's just, right now I had originally got kind of excited, but then I'm like, that's we recently did a show where we were talking about Mortal Kombat, the Mortal Kombat 30th edition. So for another $50, you get that,
a 3/4 scale arcade cabinet, classic lineup of games, online play, cool artwork and everything else. And $50 more. It feels like you're getting this giant thing compared to that for that $50.
Yeah, it just seems good. And I'm not really sold. We've seen some videos in the past of some folks that have built basically bar top versions for say, hey, I want to be able to do some pinball on there, and they've done kind of a homebrew version of it, and those look pretty cool for that. But you're even if you're homebrewing it, you don't end up at the $450 price point when you're done, and you got a pretty cool system.
That's the biggest drawback of this to me, is that price point. Yeah. And now the one thing I'll defend the price point, we already know that this is going to be well made. The AtGames Legends family stuff are all incredibly well made, solid controls, solid builds. This is going to have the back display and everything like that, which a lot of the smaller pinball tables don't have. So that's cool that it has all that stuff. And for a bar top, this is a super high end bar top.
Yeah.
It's still a bar top though.
Preloaded with 50 tables, I think.
50 tables. So that's the other thing. 50 tables is a great value.
So that, that probably, I guess, if I'm taking a longer view, if I said, okay, yes, sell this to me at $200, and then I go and spend another $150,
right, on tables,
but then I still only spend 150. So I'm only at 350 now. So you still think, but you do get 50 games. So, and good games. So it's just, it's not Atari 2600 pinball. So you can do some things there. So, I mean, that is in its favor. So, we're not really trying to beat up on it, but I think both of us are just a little bit not sold on either embrace the bar toppiness of what you are, or go up a size. If it was a true, maybe a mini pinball at around this price point, we might be talking, but then you're talking like 3/4 of, but again, that might, or like the arcade 1-up size. So
yeah,
we'll have to see.
And that's what I anticipated when I saw this until I got into the actual details about it. I was like, oh, they're doing an arcade 1-up size one. That makes sense. And I might be interested in that. Although I have a great pinball situation right now with the mini having the pinball buttons on the side and the rotatable screen. I mainly use it for pinball, and the vertical display for pinball really doesn't bother me. Like I don't feel like I'm missing anything by not having it laid out in front of me. Because I've always liked video pinball games. So I'm used to playing them on a TV or some sort of a monitor. So it doesn't detract in any way for me playing it. And I have the pinball buttons on the side. So I'm getting kind of the whole experience at still less than this cost.
That game's mini is less than this.
Yeah. I got an entire arcade cabinet with built-in pinball buttons and a rotating monitor for less than this.
So we'll see how it works out. We'll see if people bite on it. But that, we've talked in previous episodes, I've got my Legends Ultimate. I love it. It's great. I've got all my little consoles, Super Console X, the Legends Core, Nintendo 64, all that kind of running through the projector kind of deal. So I'm kind of pretty good from game options, but I do think there could be a companion piece to my Legends Ultimate, but certainly not this. But it is the mini. I might go your route because the mini would give me that more of a dedicated pinball machine, and I can do all the other AtGames stuff on the Legends. But so I continue to look at that. Smart buy on your part. I knew it was a long journey to get there, but you got the Tetris branded one. You got pretty cool stuff. So we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, and again, I do think there is value in the 50 tables. This kind of falls. This is where looking at the value of purchasing the table packs against it falls into the same thing as the photo booth, the Polaroid photo booth that Arcade 1-Up put out. People complain, and myself included, about the price tag of that. It's like $400 for this mini photo booth that you hang up in your home arcade. But it's essentially a giant tablet and a photo printer and a digital camera. That's $400 if you put all that together. So again, it costs that. And like Kelly was saying, if this was like $250, $300, I don't think people would be as upset about it. But then if you had to go out and buy all the same, packs to equal 50 tables, you're going to be close to that price point again.
Yep.
So that's where you have to decide if it's a value for you, just like the photo booth.
Yeah. And they just have to count on people being dumb like me and going like, oh, only spent $300 on it. I'll go off and buy these games. I'm going to ignore those prices. Just those don't count. Those don't count. I only paid $300 for it. And so you shouldn't shortchange the 50 games that are on there. And they obviously did some some things to expand the motherboard to kind of allow for that number of games to be resident on the device before you have to jump to a USB to do those kinds of stuff. So, I think it's going to be, good quality. But it's just, there's just a couple question marks for me about one, am I sold on bar top for pinball? And if I am, at what price point? And, if I have an option of doing an AtGames Mini or this for pinball to do something a little more dedicated, which is the smart move. So, but that AtGames would not have the 50 games. So, something to think about. So we'd like to hear from you. If you're interested, if that's the route you go, where you kind of wanting that AtGames pinball, but the price point wasn't right. Now you've got an option to pull the trigger on it. Are you solving your problem a different way? We'd like to hear from you and what your thoughts are. So anything else you'd like to add for the show, Mike?
I wish they called it a bar top.
True, wise words. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.